Hi, this is Hoppi VR episode number 1. In this episode I'm going to be taking Hoppi apart, cleaning it, and fixing and upgrading the bottom motor section. I'm going to start by taking all the covers off, and as I take them off I'm going to be cleaning them. So with Hoppi, the first thing I'm going to be doing is taking out the orange pie over here and then reloading it from scratch. I'm going to back everything up and then reload it. I've taken Hoppi's computer out and it's on an old version of Linux. So what I've done is I've reinstalled it. So what I'm doing now is I'm installing all the software libraries onto it, and then I'm going to start writing the software and get it running on here. I seem to remember that you could take the top apart from the bottom. So what I want to do is I want to access the bottom. So I'm going to see what's involved taking the bottom apart. So there's a connection over here. So that allows me to take this wire off. Again, I haven't worked on this for 5 years, that's why I don't remember this very well. So I looked at my old pics. This part here, this plank going there and this plank here is part of this part. Okay, so in theory this should come out now. Okay. And just to show you what it looks like. Okay, so that's the top section. It's basically 2 screws and a few wires. It's a bit hard to clean properly without one of those nice blowers, but I used a toothbrush and a brush and I cleaned off a little bit better. It's not perfect, but whatever, it'll be good enough. Okay, so next thing is coding. So slight change of plan. I want to try use this for Hoppi rather. This is an Orange Pi 2 plus 2. That's what I think it is. It's exactly the same thing as I mentioned earlier as that, but it has a SATA connection which I can add then an external hard drive to. And that will give me the option to then record video directly to the hard drive and do a whole lot of other things. So I've done some coding. I've made something called a cursors menu. It's basically a text-based menu that I can control, test all of this. But what I want to do is I want to test off this. I don't want to test off like a separate test platform. So I'm going to set this up. I'm going to put this on top of something so the wheels don't touch the ground. And then I'm going to set up one Arduino, probably one of these. No, actually, I'll use one of the dev ones. I'm going to set up a normal Arduino here with connections to everything. And then I'm going to connect this up to it. I'll probably just set this somewhere close. I'll set everything up now properly. I might put some temporary screws in here, whatever. And then once I've done that, I'll start writing the code again to then test this. And all I'm testing is, do the motor controllers work forward, backwards? Do the encoders work? So in other words, checking the speed of the wheels going backwards and forwards. And then can I talk to the Arduino using I2C and a few other things. little amp meter at the back here, and yeah, so that's all good. 0.2. That's coming on, and that's coming on. Okay, that all looks good. This has got a big light that comes on. There we go. Okay, so that's getting power. Okay, so that means that cable works, that's working, everything's working here. Okay, I'll need to log on to the thing and then switch it off again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the rest of the coding. So I've done the coding for like on a text UI, which I've mentioned already, but now what I need to do is add in the coding for this to talk to that. I've uploaded the code for this already, so all I need to do is just get this code working here and connect it to the UI, and then I can test again. So I need to turn this upside down so I can access the encoders. So I just want to get rid of all the loose stuff first. So the next thing I need is one of these logic level converters. I've already got one on Hoppi, but I need a second one. And there's going to be one in between the Arduino and the Orange Pi, which I'm going to make now. I'm going to make just a holder where this sits in. And then I'm also adding the resistor. It's a pull-up resistor. Okay, so I've managed to make that. So now I just got to make sure this thing works before I use it. Okay, and moment of truth. Okay, we're waiting for that to go on. What's going on? Okay, I just want to double check all the wiring. Interesting. Well, the network was flashing, huh? Then it didn't go up. Why? When I power this off from this converter, this DC converter, it's not switching on the network. Now I had a similar problem with Paimon, where I needed to use a bigger power source because it drew too much amps from here. I think that was the problem. So I think that's what's happening here. The one time it did start, but I think it was just pure luck. So either it's slightly wrong voltage, or it's... So I'm gonna just try with a different DC converter. which means I'm gonna have to replace this, which means I'm gonna probably redo all these wirings like I said. So in other words, I'm gonna remove this and move it up somewhere else. So what the plan is I'm gonna power this from a separate 5 volt power supply, and then I'm gonna power the rest of the board from the 12 volts that's coming in here, and then that should be good enough for testing if that works. Okay, I'm just going to switch everything back on again and see if I can see the So after screwing around with the cables for quite a while, I figured out what the problem was. This connector here is the same as that, but the pin 0 is on this side, and this pin 0 is on completely the other side. So I had everything connected to that side, not this side, and that's why it wasn't working. So this board is right now working. I can see the device 0 as 09, which is the Arduino, that's what it's got it set at. So everything should be connected from an I2C point of view. So now I can start coding and writing the test screen to test the wheels. In the UI I've added some test code, and it should be working now. The old Hoppi used to just set the power of the wheels, so 0 to 255, and that's it. Now the difference now is, first of all, there's only one Arduino, but second of all, it's using the encoder to set the speed. Now I haven't tested these encoders yet. These encoders are quite a bit different. They got a lot less ticks. Well, in their circle they've got a lot less holes, so that's going to pass through a lot less ticks. So I will have to adjust the code, but I don't even know if it's working yet. Anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start everything up. Just put this in the more in the center a bit. Okay, that's starting up, and then I'll power that on. So this is just a very simple UI, it just tells you the name, the version, and then the status of everything I'm going to be adding. So far here I've just got one menu and a quit button. And if you press 1, then what you can do is you can set the speed of each one. It's just a slider bar and direction, and same thing for the other motor and update motor. I haven't enabled the measurement yet, but for now, okay. So what I want to do is just set it to, this is the right motor and forward, and then I'm going to update. Okay, then what I'll do is, okay, so obviously shouldn't be doing that, so stop and starting. But that does mean the encoder is sort of working. So I'll update the other motor. So I think since the motors are pointing in different directions, I do remember the motors being different directions, but I'll just update that. Okay, yes, so I need to change the direction of the motor and update again. Okay, so that one's now working the way it's supposed to be. So this might have a problem. There might be crap inside the encoder. I don't know what's happening here. Let me just increase the speed. So this is 10 ticks per 100 milliseconds, and a tick is just every time it sees a gap. So I'll increase everything to 10 and then update. Okay, that's definitely going the way it should be going, and this one's still not doing what it's doing. It's 30. Okay, this one stopped doing that. So what does that mean? So this one's going a lot slower. Well, it sounds like it's speeding up now. Okay, so I haven't ran these for ages, and my house flooded at one point, so some stuff can be rusted at this point. So I probably should just oil everything. Also, okay, here's another problem. That's loose. These ones are fine. These ones are completely loose. And these ones are fine. Yeah. So this is the... So this is holding the one side of the axle, basically. I'll just bring it down, see what's going on. Okay, I'm just going to hold it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the motor to 10. Okay, this one's back to doing that one, and this one is... It's not doing that, it's just going fine. Okay, so I've got a problem here. I just need to figure out what that is. I've added a extra key to update the motor, so I've set that to U. So whenever I do the changes, I can just press U. I don't have to scroll down and then click sideways. So that will make changing a little bit easier. And then I've changed the increment values of the motor to 1 instead of 10, and I've set the max as 26 speed. So the idea now is, previously it was maxing out at 30, so I just want to see what it's... I haven't changed the Arduino and I haven't added the measuring code. So I'm just going to run it like that. So now I should... So this is... Okay, so that's like a clock. It's measuring 1 tick. That's like 1 tick every second. It might be... I need to debounce it. So debounce it means I check for a signal, the first signal, and then I ignore every signal like a few microseconds afterwards. So that change will happen in the Arduino. No, it's not even going. You see what happened there? It probably got loads of text and it just sat there for a while. Okay. So now I've updated it to 2. That's 3, 4, 5. Just going to increase it. So that's what it was going at 10, 11. So that's stable at 11. Well, that's actually 12. I've put a stick on here. I want to just get the max speed of the motor, of the wheel turning. So I'm going to record this and then work it out. So 36 and 30. So I went upstairs and measured the max speed of the wheels from the video, and both wheels are going 4 rotations per second, and it's very close to 4 rotations per second. It's I think this one was going slightly slower, this one was exactly the same. This is the encoder. It's got 20 little notches, so therefore the max speed is 80 notches or 80 ticks per. That's if it's getting a tick every time the light turns on. In other words, it enters the gap. So the max speed should be 80 ticks per second, and that is, what's it, 12.5 milliseconds between each tick. So if I get ticks before before say 10 milliseconds, if there's a second tick that pops up, then that's an incorrect tick, and I can cancel it out, and that's the way I'm going to debounce this. Well, hopefully, we'll see what that does. That sort of code does work on buttons. So I'm going to add that code into the Arduino and then see what happens. So I've updated the code on the Arduino. Let's see what it does. Okay, so that's going the wrong way. Okay, I think I just fixed my problem. So the next thing I want to replace is this. This is the old way I used to do these Arduino power cables. So what I want to do now is I want to groove there, so the wire can fit in. The plan now is just to take the encoders out slightly and replace the yellow cable with the orange cable so the color codes match. So I've just tested this with a new connector I made, and I've replaced the orange leads from the two encoders, and I've got this all connected up. And I tested with the old 5V converter, and my recorder wasn't recording, and that all worked. So next, what I want to do is I want to get it working, just check that this works. This is a 10 amp converter, and this should be able to power everything. This is going to be sitting up in here somewhere. And I want to redo these wires, so I'm going to add some new wires from there to there, and then one which will then go into a plug, which this one will then connect into too. Why is this? Okay, there. So then that should come on. That does come on. And then the network should come on. If the network doesn't come on, then I've got another issue. Why would the network not come on? So what I've done now is I've connected this cable directly to here. So there was nothing wrong with that other converter. It was the way I was cabling it. But this is fine because I wanted to replace it anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, set 4 true. So long. Do I have the wrong version on? That means the encoder is not connected. Okay, so I've got a problem with the encoder. I'm going to switch everything on again, and this time test the other motor, because there were some slightly loose pins. Why does it sound like it's... And again, the encoder's not working. I think this is the wrong way around. So I definitely have the pins. The encoder pin's in the wrong pin. Okay, that's better. It should be 16 is max speed. What I'm going to do now is take it upstairs, connect it to the network using the power, set up the Wi-Fi, tell it to start automatically, then put the battery in, and just let it drive free with the battery, without obviously on the Wi-Fi. We'll see if that works. After going upstairs, it took me a while to figure out the Wi-Fi, but I got it working. I then switched off Hoppi and got the Wi-Fi starting by itself. I then re-switched Hoppi off and put it on the battery, and it started up fine, connected to the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I'm just using the text-based UI to control it. In the next episode, I'm planning to finish the top of Hoppi and get that working. I'm also going to build a generic control app that all my robots are going to be using going forward. Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye.